Hi, and welcome to episode 7 of the Leading Adam podcast. We have a very special episode today where we're speaking to you, educators out there, and we want you to know that you matter, words matter, and we hope you enjoy the show.
The Leading Adam podcast is hosted by me, Adam Binkerd. I've spent the last 10 years researching how a healthy human experience is the key to innovation in student retention and education, and now I'm taking to the mic to share what I've learned. Hear how I've defied the odds and transformed from a landscaper to a national expert in student success in less than 10 years. Not an educator? That's okay. Stay tuned for entertaining stories and practical takeaways about leading self, leading leaders, and leading culture. The Leading Adam podcast is co-hosted by Erika Crabtree, produced by Chris Spangle, and sponsored by 240 Solutions. Connect with us at 240solutions.com. And I hope you'll stay tuned because together we can change the world.
Hey, Adam.
Erika.
We made it to episode 7.
We're there. I'm loving this process. I'm loving the weather.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fall.
But it is the afternoon, and I've got my iced coffee.
Mm-hmm.
It's my afternoon treat.
Yeah.
Just heavy cream.
I did not opt for the iced coffee this time. I did get hot. I felt that was more seasonally appropriate. Also really good. So
I don't really turn to hot in the afternoons until we're full-blown winter.
Oh, okay.
I stick with the ice for a little while.
Yeah. I just kind of go with my gut. You know, I walk in, it's whatever I'm feeling at that moment.
Yeah. I was thinking as we were preparing to record this afternoon, how grateful I am for Chris Spangle and leadersandlegends.com.
Absolutely.
For the production of our podcast. It's been such a joy working with Chris. So
yeah, Chris is
kudos.
awesome.
Kudos to Chris.
Thank you, Chris. Well, awesome. Well, I'm excited about this episode today. We have a very special episode. And I want to, as we were talking about this and preparing for it, this episode for all of you, the educators out there, the front line, this one's for you. You matter. And we just want to make sure that you know that. We see you, we hear you, we love you, and this episode's for you.
Yeah, it's a good reminder. Mm-hmm. Yeah, educators are the unsung heroes.
Absolutely.
Maybe of our society, and it's a thankless job at times. Yeah. And parents, if you're in secondary or below, parents demand and expect so much of you that they should be doing themselves. Mm-hmm. And if you're above that, it becomes about you didn't do X, Y, and Z, and I paid you. All right. And so on either end of that spectrum, being an educator, whether in the classroom or as an administrator or somewhere in the middle of that, can be a thankless job. And I think today we're going to settle in and encourage them.
And there's not a lot of job roles out there, I think, where you have so much love and care and passion for what you do, balanced out with, or sometimes not balanced with, so much procedure and regulation and so many things that you're bound by and having to navigate and manage and wrangle all of that while caring for and loving human beings.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
It's
like
a hard job. Your heart pulls you to be in the classroom. Your heart pulls you to be a student support. And then you get there and you're just buried in regulation.
Yeah.
And
it's easy
that's
to forget.
Hard. Yeah. It's hard to express your heart, your passion in the midst of all the guardrails that are put around you, and policy and procedure and, state requirements. And, they know the story. We know the story. They know the story.
That's right. And we're going to get to hear a little bit more of your story. Mm-hmm. And we talked about in one of the early episodes, I mean, you went from landscaper to being nationally recognized for student retention. You spent the last 10 years studying, being a student and really leaning into humanity at the organizational level.
Right.
But your story goes back so much further than that.
Yeah. As do all of ours.
Right. But we're going to get into your story
Remember
today.
Golden Girls? Remember the show Golden
of course,
Girls?
yeah.
Sophia.
Sophia.
Picture this.
Picture this.
We're not going to go that far back, but yeah, it was one of the parts that we were thinking as we talked about doing this. We want to share of ourselves.
Yeah.
And sometimes those are entertaining stories because they'll be funny in ways we failed or flubbed. But in this case, it's a story really to encourage the educator at many levels. And so, today I think it's going back for me to a moment when there was a divergence in the path and how an educator was able to pull me in. And I think just thinking through these individuals that are out there, they're doing this day in and day out. It starts to wear on you is the message from this example will be, don't underestimate the power of a moment.
Right.
It doesn't have to be long. It can be relatively brief. And that is true both positively and negatively. And so we were talking as we were preparing for this episode just about that part of my journey. And I think we'll start on the positive. Like, we really want to keep it there.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And we need to share the other side of it because it's important as well. But, I struggled in school. We talked about that. I wasn't good academically. Most of that due to an undiagnosed learning disability, dyslexia, and what that looks like. And we'll talk about that probably in the future. But in this space, I was struggling as a student and really had very little confidence in myself until a moment of interaction that was so quick and so simple. But I felt like someone saw me. I had been up to this point. My brother's 15 months older than I am. I'm compared to him constantly in school. He's naturally smart and doesn't have a learning disability. And so in that, it was always this expectation. And finally, I had an instructor who just didn't say, I love your brother, looking forward to having you. I wasn't in that category. It's just suddenly an educator who looked at me and said, Adam, you are a good writer.
And how old were you at that time?
I was in the latter part of high school. I don't remember the exact age, to be honest with you. The trauma that I experienced at 15, I've forgotten a lot of my childhood. And I think anyone that's experienced trauma understands what I mean by that. And again, that's another episode altogether. But I don't remember exactly. I just remember I was in this place where, ironically, I had plagiarized so much that's where it started. I submitted some creative writing and got accused of plagiarizing. And for the first time in a long time, it was mine.
Oh, wow.
And so we took the opportunity once they realized this is legit. You wrote this. The teacher went the other way and said, Adam, you're a good writer. Well, I didn't know I was dyslexic. I knew that every time I took the writing comprehension portion, I failed it. I knew I was failing it. I couldn't read a simple narrative and then summarize it. I just could not do it. And it was frustrating. And so to hear someone say, you're a good writer, it was important to me.
Right. Words you had never heard before in school.
No, not really. What you get, and God bless my parents and others around me that were encouraging, is that you can, if you apply yourself, that you're capable or you're going to be something. Well, this person didn't say any of that. They just said, you are.
Yeah.
And suddenly I'm identified as something other than stupid. That was a moment for me I'll never forget. Even though the details around it are fuzzy from trauma, I won't forget that moment, because it did set me on a path that took me a few years to actually come back around and say, what if I am a good writer?
Yeah, I'm curious if that changed, just hearing those words, and that word I am, you are a good writer, not just you could be if you tried hard enough or tried harder, or but you are a good writer. Did that immediately change your outlook on other aspects of your life, or was it still pretty
It was pretty
isolated?
narrow.
Yeah.
You can imagine years of feeling less than, especially my brother, which I should make note. I respect very few people on this planet as much as I respect and love my brother. I have such an admiration and honor for him and his giftings and his intelligence. Like, that's not a thing here. There's
Right.
no dissension there. But I had spent years in a lot of ways in his shadow.
Yeah.
Having the only value that I had really felt was that I was athletic. I was a good athlete, and that was something. But it was more like a pinprick in construction paper. You remember the Eclipse viewers we used to make?
Of course.
Yeah, it was kind of like that. It was like this moment all of a
Man,
sudden.
that just took me way back. Yeah.
Exactly. We're dating ourselves. I don't think they do that anymore, but
Okay.
that was a moment where it was like, that's it. There's just a little bit of light
Yeah.
pierced into my world, a world where I felt like I didn't bring any value.
Yeah.
I didn't matter. I wasn't going to contribute. I wasn't the person anyone expected to have an answer to anything. I just didn't have that identity.
Yeah.
And it didn't bleed over immediately. It took a little while to let that kind of stew. And but it took root. I mean, I'm now, from that moment, at least 25, 26 years later, still remembering that. Still,
vividly,
even
yeah.
at times, deriving value and motivation from it.
Yeah.
If that's not a powerful statement as to what those in the classroom, those in the administration office, those at the admissions level in preparing someone to enter post-secondary, if that's not a testament to the influence you can have, I don't know that there is one.
Right.
Because it was over like that.
Yeah.
She didn't sit down with me and have a long conversation. She said it and she moved on.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, incredible testament to the influence that the educators have.
Yeah. Do you think she recognized how special that was to her? Have you ever had a chance to
I have
tell her
not.
that?
I have not.
goodness.
And no, I don't think so. I can't imagine so.
Yeah.
Again, now, this is also the same person who had busted me for cheating multiple times. So at this point...
So it was well-earned, a well-earned
Exactly.
compliment.
Yeah, it was, I think it was maybe, it might have, who knows, even the comment might have been thrown out there as, if I say this, maybe he'll just write the next thing too.
Right.
I don't know. But no, I don't think she knows. And I think
Yeah.
that's something that should be an encouragement to those that are educators, is be in the moment,
Yeah.
be present, because you don't know what moment, positively or negatively, you might be tipping someone on their scale
Yeah.
of self-concept.
And I think what you talked about, your brother being very mainstream intelligent, I'll refer to it that way, maybe better academically. That's one category, or maybe a box that we can very easily fit people into, being the athlete, the star athlete.
Yeah.
And then meeting people's expectations with that. So it's another category we can easily categorize somebody into. Okay, well, they're an athlete. And so maybe academically, we don't expect that much out of this person because they're a star athlete or whatever, And so being in the moment, I like what you said about being in the moment, because that allows us to not maybe categorize as much and look at the individual and look for those. She noticed a nuance, something maybe out of the ordinary, what she has seen before with your other writing, and was able to notice that and say something when she saw it.
Yeah, I'm wondering too, like you're talking about, I'm talking one lane, like I'm in the classroom.
Yeah.
But the thing is that the words are powerful, and I think all of us have experiences where we can reflect back and go, well, this moment influenced me positively or negatively. I'm curious if one's in your mind for you.
Yeah, I think, one that comes to mind doesn't take place in the academic classroom.
Okay.
When I was younger, I took dance for a while when I was in, all through elementary school. And at some point I decided I was ready to move on from that. I didn't really want to pursue that anymore. I didn't really think I was that good at it at the time. And I was telling my dance instructor, like, hey, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm not coming back for another season. And I remember her telling me, okay, well, you're going to sit around and eat bonbons and get fat.
Oh my God.
And I can laugh at, I don't think
that's quite the jump.
It is quite the jump. And, here I am really young. But flash forward, and that didn't stop me from picking up dance later on when I got into high school or discovering other ways to dance and do that. But, and then, flash forward at the end of, towards the end of high school, I had been really involved in color guard and started dancing again. And someone picking up, hey, you're really good. And ended up, I continued dancing through college and got involved with a performing group and got to tour the country. Really opened up doors that I didn't even know were even there at that point in time when I was quitting dance and going to sit around and eat bonbons. When you were traveling
and doing these shows, did you travel with bonbons?
I didn't, but I really should have.
You should have. Just a memory, right?
Just a memory,
This is not who I'm going to be.
That's right. That's right.
It's interesting, though. Like, it's outside of what we were just talking about.
Yeah.
But it's the same lane. And yours is down the more negative comment. And it just makes me wonder, did you just not fit what she thought you needed, and what you were going to be or what you could be? And because of that, she was going to try and control that. Like, where do you think that came from?
Yeah. I'm not sure why someone would, why I was told it in that specific way, but I think she probably had a vision of the path that dancers take, and you sort of grow your skill set and join maybe the company, and there was a set path through the studio that you might take, and I was deviating from that. And so the doors that were opening for me later on this different path that I took, she didn't even know those doors existed.
Yeah.
I didn't know those doors existed.
Right.
She just knew that the door I was closing didn't lead to the door, there were doors behind that I wasn't going to get to experience. And so that was her way of telling me she thought I was going to miss out, I guess.
You said you were deviating. Of course, I go to statistics because I'm a data guy. And, in statistics, there is a standard deviation that's figured. And a standard deviation is ultimately something that you can expect or predict. So someone's going to exit, in this case, just use the example, in the pattern or flow of people that start dance and then become dancers. When someone deviates, there's a standard for that. And that deviation might be a deviation to, just hypothetically, to cheerleading or to, I guess, color guard.
Right.
Something like that. But because you didn't state, I'm not going to dance, I'm going to cheer. You weren't standard.
Right.
You were just a deviant. And a deviant then becomes a negative in our minds when actually everything that we have in our society today that we call innovative was started by a deviant. And it's so interesting to me how as human beings, we villainize deviants.
Yeah.
Instead of recognizing the pioneer in them, maybe, so the words spoken to me, I don't necessarily have that kind of outcome because you ended up in a place where you were performing, you were touring to do that. And my guess is that 80% of those who stayed in probably didn't do that, so you ended up somewhere because of who you are, not because you followed the standard path.
Right.
And that would be true about me as well. But the other side of that coin, when we're talking about these moments, is I think the encouragement for educators is see it differently, right? Just because you see it going away doesn't mean that's the only way that it can go.
Right.
And for me, being dyslexic, and again at that stage unknowingly, I was good at math. Like I don't have dyscalculia. That's the mathematic version of dyslexia.
Okay.
I don't have that. Oftentimes they're together. I do not have that. I'm very good with numbers, and I found comfort in that. I was good. I knew what to expect with math. And the way that my brain worked and what I now understand was different kinds of reasoning versus rote memory. The way that my brain worked, I could get to math differently, but accurately. And because of that, I was faster at math. And, it was my freshman year. And this one I do remember very clearly. I remember everything about this moment. And I happen to be sitting in the front of the room because I wasn't the kid you left in the back.
Yeah.
So I was in the front of the room, but kind of that, playing with my pencil, thinking around. I wasn't paying attention to the instruction at the board. The reason I wasn't is because I already knew the answer.
Yeah.
And so I had moved on. But that wasn't common in the 80s, or in this case, the 90s. That wasn't common to recognize that boredom might be an advanced process for this particular subject. And so here we are, we're doing this, and the teacher writes a fresh problem on the board, just turns around and says, "Mr. Binkerd, why don't you work this problem in front of the room?" I didn't think anything of it. I just stood up, walked up to the board, done, got the problem right. I sat back down. She turns around and says to me, "You're not going to amount to anything in your life with your attitude." And here again, that moment, I will never forget. Erika, I promise you, I never took another math class until college. And then I took one required math class, and my next math was doctoral stats.
Oh my goodness.
Like I just gave up on math, and I wanted to be an architect. In this case, her words, it totally derailed what I thought. I suck at this, but I can do this. And I gave up on me in that from that comment. And I don't know that she even knows that it happened.
Yeah.
But I look at what that moment was, and all it is a inverse example of the other one. Right? She, out of her frustration, saw a deviant. I wasn't taking notes like she thought I should.
Right.
She couldn't get to the point that I knew how to do it.
And all that, you were so confident with your abilities in that particular area. What did that, what was the internal dialogue? How did that shift?
Yeah, it wasn't
from
good.
That point. Yeah.
It was honestly what it was I had heard for so long, if you would just apply yourself, if you would just try harder. All of a sudden, here in a moment, I'm having success that is almost effortless. and I'm applying myself to it. Mm-hmm. And it didn't matter.
Somehow it became part of the story of Adam Binkerd at the time, which was he didn't apply himself. And this is another, it fit
And
into
even
that
if
story.
he does,
yeah,
it doesn't matter.
it doesn't matter.
So why try? And that was my freshman year. I went on, as we know, to barely graduate high school. I had said I missed 17 days. That's the days they know of. Right? I mean, I had to make up for some of that by working,
Sure.
but I missed a lot more than that. And that, I think, is unfortunately the negative side of it is more powerful.
Yeah.
Those words that, Adam, you're a good writer. You are. You are. They were buried in that one. And it's there's a caution here and an encouragement because today is about those in education, those on the front line, those in administration. Don't overlook those moments. Take every moment to identify in a student a moment of healthy character, attitude, and mindset. Like those things are sustainable.
Yeah.
And I use healthy intentionally because we too often assign things good or bad. It's not about good or bad. It's about healthy.
Right.
And just because a student's mindset or attitude isn't maybe what you thought it should be, if it's healthy, if it can get somewhere, we need to encourage that. And that's the opportunity our educators have. They're there all the time. They spend more time with these students than their friends and their family. And it's a powerful opportunity.
Yeah. Words matter.
They matter.
And so barely graduating high school, you then eventually did start college. You went to college.
I did.
And we're in college, I think, forever.
Forever. Yep.
So take us to that moment. Like, what gave you the belief in yourself, or how did you take that next step to say, okay, I can do this, even though this prior experience wasn't so good?
Yeah, for me, as quickly as I can state it, is I moved from believing I was stupid to knowing I was capable. And I stayed there for years. I wasn't smart, but I was capable. And I've said it to say it real frankly and really maybe offensively. What I'd come to believe about me is that although it may not look pretty, it may not look like everyone else in the classroom, I promise you I am grittier than anyone else in this room. I don't quit. I don't understand the meaning of the word anymore.
Yeah.
And that's both good and bad. But I think it was that. It was years, 10 years I sat out of school and I found success in the landscaping industry. I was good at it. I was good with my hands. I was good with visual design, aesthetic. I was really good at understanding all the needs of plants, shrubs, grass, chemically, all the chemical relationships. And all of a sudden you realize I'm not stupid.
Right.
I'm not good at this. And so that made me capable.
Yeah.
So when I went back, it took a little while. I dropped out the first time, 3 months in. But then I got back. And when I got back, I thought, I don't care what they think. If I'm not taking notes, that's on me. And if I fail because of that, so be it. It turns out I figured a way to do it. And in the words of my speech pathologist, which I was 39 years old, second year of my PhD, when I finally discovered I was dyslexic.
Oh my goodness.
My speech pathologist said to me, she said, Adam, there is no reason you should be able to have accomplished what you've accomplished academically. And again, I believe it's because I was just gritty. Like I'm gonna grind it out.
Yeah.
If nothing else. So, but that in that side of it, it was being able to go back. Those words, those original words.
Yeah.
Words matter. That's the message today. Going back and in that moment going, I'm a good writer. And then stripping off that, I am. Period. And I think it helped me find grit because I could fill in that blank.
Yeah.
I am something versus I am stupid.
Yeah.
So here we are.
Here we are. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. So key takeaway, words matter. As an educator, you matter and can literally change the trajectory of students, of those around you.
So let's end there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Words matter. And if you're an educator and you're listening and you happen to be watching, you matter. Erika said it. I'm here to support that. You matter and the work that you do matters. Don't get lost in the regulation and the compliance because at the end of the day, you're a human standing in the room with humans. And that means you have an opportunity to speak life into these students. Find a way to identify in them healthy character, healthy attitude, and a healthy mindset, and then praise it. And then just let the rest of the process work. Don't try to do it all. Just know that if you can encourage that, you can help them change their world. And with that, we're done.
Thanks for joining us here at the Leading Adam podcast. We hope you found inspiration and hope to see you again next time. Leave us a comment on YouTube, or if you have an idea for a future episode, let us know that too. You can connect with us at 240solutions.com. Thanks, and we hope to see you again next time.